guys, welcome back to the channel. It's time for some Premier League predictions because I've not done a post in a while on here, and the fixtures are out for next season. So let's go through what I think is going to start off. I think Liverpool are going to start off their title defence with a big win against Bournemouth. Kirkes playing for Liverpool, having a good game there. Villa and Newcastle, we're going to go with 2-2 in that game. It feels like a 2-2 game. Start the season off. I think Brighton beat Fulham in that first game as well. I think Forest start off their season strongly as Brentford and whoever their new manager will be. I'll do another one of these predictions when we get to the start of the season as well and we know who's playing where. Sunderland to get a draw in their first game, get some points on the board, and Spurs to absolutely demolish Burnley in Frank's first game. Wolves get beat by City. Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Chelsea to draw with Palace on the opening week there, and United to draw with Arsenal. A few draws going in there, and then a 1-1 between Leeds and Everton there. I think that's fair. We're going to calculate it every like 5 game weeks roughly, and see where we're looking. Bournemouth beating Wolves in that next game week there. Crystal Palace drawing with Forest. I think that's fair. Arsenal beating Leeds. Brentford getting beat by Aston Villa. We're going to have Burnley here beating Sunderland. Everton beating Brighton. Fulham getting beat by United. Oh my god, can I press the right things there? There we go. And City beating Spurs. Newcastle beating Liverpool early on in the season there, putting a first loss on the board for Liverpool. We got lost first loss on the board quite early on last season as well, to be fair. And then a big win there for Chelsea against West Ham. Sunderland beating Brentford, getting points on the board early for Sunderland here. Villa beating Palace. We're going to have Brighton getting beat by City. Keeping it calm, start of the season, keeping it calm. 2-0 win there for Chelsea against Fulham, and a 2-2 draw between Liverpool and Arsenal. Liverpool points not flowing off the board straight away there. A big win for Newcastle against Leeds. United to be beating Burnley, yep. Nottingham Forest against West Ham. We're going to have Forest beating West Ham. We're going to have Spurs drawing with Bournemouth. Wheels coming off already. Is that 2-0 there for Wolves against Everton? Game week 4, we're going to see Brighton get beat by Bournemouth. We're going to see Crystal Palace win their game against Sunderland. We're going to see Arsenal beat Forest. We're going to see Brentford get beat by Chelsea. We're going to see Burnley getting nicely beaten by Liverpool there. 0-0 between Everton and Aston Villa. We're going to see Fulham get a win on the board. We're going to see City beat Man United in the derby, and then we're going to see Newcastle beating Wolves, and then another draw for Spurs there. Another poor draw. They should be doing better. Another draw there for Bournemouth and Newcastle. Sunderland getting beat by Aston Villa. We see Brighton beating Spurs. We're going to see Arsenal beating City. We're going to see Burnley getting beat by Forest. Fulham beating Brentford. Liverpool beating Everton. United beating Chelsea. Yeah, I think that's fair. West Ham beating Palace, and then we're going to see Wolves beating Leeds. We're going to calculate it. We're going to give it 5 now. City top of the table. 3 teams still unbeaten there, with Arsenal, Newcastle and Aston Villa all still unbeaten. United sat in 5th place on 10 points. Not too shabby. Someone might say I'm biased. Burnley, Leeds and Brentford all sat in the relegation zone. Brentford with 5 losses on the board, with whoever their new manager would be. Sunderland just outside the relegation zone now. West Ham working. Everton down there as well. Crystal Palace down there. Spurs still down there under Frank. And we're going to get into the Champions League football is going to start affecting teams now, but we're going to see Villa keep on a strong suit there. We're going to see a 2-2 draw between Crystal Palace and Liverpool. We're going to see Brentford getting beat by United. That's 6 losses in a row. That's not good. That is not good. Everton beating West Ham. West Ham, in front of the Wolves there. We're going to see a big win for Leeds against Bournemouth. We're going to see City beating Burnley. You know what? Nice and easy. And then we're going to see a 1-1 draw between Newcastle and Arsenal. And we're going to see Forest throw the weight around a little bit, and then Spurs beating Wolves. Bournemouth drawing with Fulham in an exciting game there. Aston Villa beating Burnley. Arsenal beating West Ham. Brentford getting beat by City. Liverpool beating Chelsea there. Everton and Crystal Palace in a 0-0 dull affair. Leeds getting beat by Spurs. United beating Sunderland. Newcastle beating Forest. And then Wolves and Brighton drawing 2-2. Sunderland in the week later getting beat by Wolves. We're going to see Brighton beating, drawing with Newcastle. Another exciting game there. Crystal Palace drawing with Bournemouth. We're going to see Burnley beat Leeds. We're going to see Fulham get beat by Arsenal. We're going to see Liverpool United draw 2-2 again. We're going to see City beating Everton. That is always on the same week. Liverpool United, Man City, Everton, always on the same game week. Forest and Chelsea drawing. We're going to see Spurs beating Aston Villa, and then we're going to see West Ham draw with Brentford. We're on a horrible patch right now. Horrible patch they're on. Bournemouth and Forest drawing 2-2 with each other. No draws. Following the draws. 3-1 for Villa against City. Arsenal drawing 1-0 with Crystal Palace. Brentford getting beat by Liverpool. We're going to see Chelsea drawing 2-0 with Sunderland. It's a poor loss of points there for Chelsea. Everton beating Spurs. We're going to see West Ham draw with Leeds. We're going to see United beat Brighton. Newcastle get beat by Fulham, and then we're going to see Wolves beating Burnley. And we're going to give it 10, and give it 10 we're going to calculate the game again. 1-1 between Sunderland and Everton. Brighton and Leeds going to be a 2-1 win to Brighton there. Crystal Palace 2-2 draw with Brentford. We're going to see Burnley beaten by Arsenal. We're going to see Fulham beating Wolves. Liverpool beating Villa. City beating Bournemouth. Forest drawing United. Spurs beating Chelsea. Yeah, changing it up. And then Newcastle beating West Ham. I'm going to calculate the table now, give it 10. City still top of the table on 24 points. Arsenal just close behind him, still yet to get a loss on the board after 10 games in. 22 points on the board for them. United sat in third on the same points as Liverpool. Somewhat biased. Leeds, Burnley and Brentford all still in the relegation zone. Sunderland just outside, and it's only on goal difference. West Ham still lurking close to it as well. Crystal Palace on 10 points, a lot lower than the Crystal Palace fans would have expected them to be. But Brighton just behind them there. Bournemouth as well. Let's see how it goes on. We're going to game week 15, and then we're going to go to game week 19. Sunderland being beat by Arsenal. Villa drawing with Bournemouth. We're going to see a big win there for Crystal Palace against Brighton. The tides might start turning for Brentford there. Chelsea beating Wolves 2-0. Everton getting beat 1-0 by Fulham. We're going to see a big win there for City against Liverpool as they push on their dominance in the league. 2-2 between Spurs and United, and we'll see West Ham get some points on the board against Burnley. We're going to get beat the week after. And then we're going to see Brighton get beat by Brentford. Brentford pushing the points through now. 10 game weeks in without a win, and then they just turn it around. Spurs and Arsenal drawing 2-2. And Burnley getting beat by Chelsea. Fulham beating Sunderland. Yeah, big win there for Liverpool against Forest. Leeds getting beat by Villa. United beating Everton 2-0. And then a 1-1 draw between Newcastle and City. And a 2-1 win for Wolves against Crystal Palace. Sunderland then against Bournemouth, beating Bournemouth. Big result there, big result. Villa and Wolves drawing 2-2. Crystal Palace beating United. Brentford beating Burnley. So they're turning things around now, Brentford. They're trying to get back out of the relegation zone. Arsenal getting beat finally by Chelsea, the first loss of the season. Everton drawing with Newcastle. City beating Leeds. Forest beating Brighton. And we'll see Spurs draw with Fulham. And then, yeah, big win there for Liverpool against West Ham, as you'd expect. 2-0 there for Bournemouth against Everton. Brighton beating Villa. Arsenal beating Brentford. Yeah, Brentford not going to win that one. 0-0 between Burnley and Crystal Palace, where Fulham beat City. Sticky one, that is. Sticky one. Sunderland getting beat by Liverpool. Leeds getting beat by Chelsea. And United beating West Ham. Throwing West Ham further down that pit. Newcastle beating Spurs. And then Wolves beating Forest. Bournemouth beating Chelsea, big win that one. Aston Villa beating Arsenal, huge changes to the tides here. 2-0 there. 0-0 between Everton and Forest. Fulham drawing with Palace, big game that one. Liverpool in there. Big win there. Newcastle with another big win against Burnley. Thomas Frank beating his old team, and Cunha getting brace his former team there. As City is still top of the table, but with 3 losses on the board, 15 games in, is insane. 34 points to run. Liverpool on 33, Arsenal now dropped on 29, Newcastle on 28, Villa on 28. Quite an evenly spaced table. Brentford, Sunderland, Burnley and Leeds all in the relegation zone. I should expect them to kind of be, but there's still some teams lurking around it. There's a big gap between Everton, kind of holding strong from everyone else down there. Sunderland beating Newcastle in that first Tyneside derby in a long time. Crystal Palace beating City as well. You know, some big results coming in there. As Brentford beat Leeds and get further away from there. Burnley drawing with Fulham. We're going to see Chelsea drawing with Everton. We're going to see Liverpool beating Brighton. United drawing with Bournemouth. Forest drawing with Spurs. A lot of draws this game week. And then a 2-1 win there for Aston Villa against West Ham. Bournemouth beating Burnley. We're going to see Villa beat United. You know, United falling off a bit here now. 1 all between Everton and Arsenal there. Fulham beating Forest. Leeds getting a result against Crystal Palace there. City beating West Ham. Yep. Newcastle beating Chelsea. Spurs getting beat by Liverpool. And then Wolves beating Brentford. I think that's fair. Sunderland beating Leeds. Big one that for Sunderland. Crystal Palace beating Spurs. Arsenal drawing with... No, Arsenal beating Brighton. Brentford beating Bournemouth as they try and push back up the table now. Burnley and Everton drawing 1-1. Chelsea beating Villa. We're going to see Liverpool beat Wolves, yeah. United drawing with Newcastle. Nah, United getting beat by Newcastle. There's 3 losses in a row now, I think. City winning that game. And then 1-1 between West Ham and Fulham. Game week 19. We're going to see what happens here. 4 teams. 2-2 between Crystal Palace and Fulham. Arsenal beating Villa, trying to throw them curse behind them. 2-1 win there for Brentford against Thomas Frank and his former team. Burnley getting beat by Newcastle. Chelsea winning their game. We're going to see, yeah, Liverpool winning their game against Leeds. Winning their game against Wolves. And Forest drawing with Everton. West Ham beating Brighton. And that's fair. Halfway through the season now, and Liverpool are back top of the table. City had 4 losses, a bit too many losses than they'd expect to be having. United also on 4 losses, 35 points, just above Chelsea there. The relegation zone is now West Ham, Burnley and Leeds. Burnley and Leeds both yet to get over the 11-point mark. Burnley yet to get over the 10-goal mark. They've got 8 goals in the season, which is insane. 14 points. They've actually got more points than goals. That is crazy. 14 points on the board for West Ham. Sees them just inside the relegation zone, but Sunderland are close. Brentford are pretty close. Everton are pretty close. Even Brighton consider themselves close. Crystal Palace moving up the table. We'll wait and see what we get. We're going to go game week 28 now. Game week 28 is a big gap between these ones. But Arsenal beating Bournemouth there. Villa beating Forest. I think that's fair. I think Brighton beating Burnley is also fair. Everton beating Brentford, that's fair. Liverpool beating Fulham. United are not going to get beat by Leeds. We're alright. City beating Chelsea. 2-2 between Newcastle and Crystal Palace. Spurs beating Sunderland. Another big result from there. And then Wolves beating West Ham. Keeping West Ham down. As Bournemouth won their game against Spurs. Crystal Palace drawing with Villa. Arsenal throwing their walls around them and beating Liverpool. Needed that win, they did. Brentford beating Sunderland. Burnley getting beat by United. Everton and Wolves drawing. Fulham beating Chelsea. We're going to see City beating Brighton. I don't know why I put 4 into that. 4-1 there for Newcastle against Leeds. And then West Ham to get a result against Forest. Sunderland to draw with Crystal Palace. Aston Villa beating Everton in that game. We're going to see Brighton and Bournemouth draw. We're going to see Chelsea beating Brentford. Liverpool beating Burnley, no doubt about it. Leeds beating Fulham, big one that. United drawing with City at Old Trafford. Forest getting beat by Arsenal. Spurs beating West Ham. Could throw West Ham right under the bus. And then Wolves and Newcastle drawing 1-1 there. Bournemouth to get beat by Liverpool. you'd expect. Crystal Palace beating Chelsea would be a shocking one. Arsenal beating United. You're going to see Brentford and Forest draw 2-2. We're going to see Burnley. Not shock anyone and get beat by Spurs. Everton and Leeds. Everton to win that game. Fulham to beat Brighton. You could see to beat Wolves. Newcastle beating Villa there, and then West Ham drawing with Sunderland. Not good enough for them, as Sunderland then beat Burnley. Burnley have a goal on the board though. Where are we going with this? 5-0. West Ham having a poor time there. Liverpool beating Newcastle, Leeds and Arsenal. Going to be 3-1 to Arsenal. United beating Fulham. 2-2 between Forest and Palace. We're going to see Spurs do what they love to do and beat City. And then Wolves and Bournemouth. We're going to see Wolves beat Bournemouth there. Yeah, and Bournemouth then beat Villa the week after. Brighton beating Crystal Palace. Arsenal beating Sunderland up. And then Burnley had a big win against West Ham. Shocking win against West Ham. Get some goals on the board, finding 11 goals. Liverpool drawing with City. Heat of the season, you know, it could happen. Leeds beating Forest, you know, shocking things happen sometimes. Newcastle beat Brentford there, and then Wolves beat by Chelsea. So we get game 28, and then we'll calculate how we are looking again. Villa beating Brighton, Crystal Palace beating Burnley, Brentford getting beat by Arsenal, 2-2. Chelsea just dropping points where they don't need to be dropping points. 1-0 for Everton there against Bournemouth. We're going to see City beating Fulham. We're going to see Forest beating Wolves. We're going to see Spurs beating Newcastle. We're going to see West Ham getting beat by United. 2 more games we can calculate. 2-0 win there for Sunderland against Fulham. Big win that is. Crystal Palace beating Wolves. Brentford beating Brighton. Chelsea beating Burnley. Everton getting beat 2-0 by United. City beating Newcastle. I thought we'd already done that one, not gonna lie. Forest getting beat by Liverpool. Spurs in a big North London derby win there against Arsenal, and then Bournemouth getting beat by West Ham. This game we will calculate again with 10 games to go. 10 games to go, and we'll calculate how it is, because Bournemouth beating Sunderland. Yeah, big win there for Brighton against Forest. Arsenal beating Chelsea, a result that they need. 0-0 between Burnley and Brentford. You know what, actually I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley. Burnley getting more points on the board. It's Fulham beat Spurs. Liverpool beating West Ham. Leeds getting absolutely demolished by City. United beating Crystal Palace. Newcastle beating Everton. And Wolves drawing with Villa. We're going to calculate with 10 games to go. United still in 4th, 57 points. Liverpool still top of the table on 67 points. 4 points ahead of Arsenal and 4 points ahead of City with 10 games to go. Liverpool could be chasing down the title here. It could still get 97 points. We'll wait and see if that actually happens. West Ham still in the relegation zone on 21 points. Leeds and Burnley have now made it past the 11-point mark. Both on 15 points. Could still chase a survival towards the end of the season. We'll wait and see how it goes. Some gaps appearing in here, but not any major gaps. I mean, Spurs to Villa there is a bit of a huge gap, 9 points. Let's see how the end of the season goes. We'll calculate the end game at 31 when it's, you know, that's proper chase towards the end of the season. That is, as Aston Villa beating Chelsea there, Brighton getting beat by Arsenal, Everton beating Burnley, Fulham beating West Ham, Leeds beating Sunderland. Could be huge for Leeds. Could be huge for Leeds that. Winning that game's Newcastle beating United, Spurs winning that game, and Liverpool still winning. Liverpool's still winning here. It's hard to find a place where they're not winning. Brighton beating Sunderland, Crystal Palace beating Leeds. Yeah, Arsenal still beating Everton there. Brentford against Wolves. Yeah, Brentford getting the win there, just against Wolves. 1-0 for Burnley against Bournemouth. Chelsea a massive win there. Liverpool still winning the games. Liverpool still winning the games towards the end of the season. United beating Villa 3-1. Forest drawing with Fulham, and then we're going to have West Ham get absolutely demolished by City. Bournemouth then drawing with United. Villa beating West Ham. Brighton getting a shock result against Liverpool and throwing things into contention. Throwing things really into contention. 1-1 between Everton and Chelsea. Fulham beating Burnley. Leeds beating Brentford. Could be huge. City beating Crystal Palace, so they continue to chase it down. No holds barred there. Spurs were in their game, and then Wolves just getting beat. What else are we going to see here? We're going to see Sunderland and Spurs play each other. Yeah, Spurs are winning that one. 2-2 between Crystal Palace and Newcastle. Arsenal beating Bournemouth. Brentford beating Everton towards the end of the season there. Big hopes on their survival. 1-1 between Burnley and Brighton. Need to win that game. They need to win that game. They are going to win that game. United, once again, we don't like Leeds. Ooh, Forest and Villa, chasing down European spots. They are going to win that game. West Ham trying to chase survival. They are going to win that game. And then Crystal Palace win, and then Brentford win their game. Chelsea beat United. Everton, big win towards the end of the season there. Huge win towards the end of the season. Leeds drawing with Wolves. City beating Arsenal, which could be a tie at the side of the game. Newcastle and Bournemouth, we're going to see win that game. And then Spurs drawing with Brighton. We're going to kick at the table with 5 games to go. City now top of the table again by 2 points. Arsenal 3 points behind them, and Liverpool just 2 points behind them. United on 64 points, still there for contention in a Champions League place. Obviously Newcastle and Aston Villa also chasing it down. 10 points left off Chelsea there. Seems like United might probably get European football there. Sunderland back in the relegation zone. Wolves seem to be safe. Brentford seem to be safe. There's quite a few games to go, but it should be safe. They should be safe. We'll wait and see what happens here, because Bournemouth win there, but then Sunderland win against Forest and throws things into contention again. Brighton getting beat by Chelsea. Arsenal beating Newcastle. Burnley definitely getting beat by City there. Fulham beating Villa. I'm going to see, Liverpool try the hardest, but is it going to get them anywhere? We don't know. 1-1 between West Ham and Everton, and Wolves beating Tottenham. Bournemouth beating Crystal Palace. Villa and Spurs drawing 2-2. Keep winning. West Ham win their game against Brentford there. Could throw things back into chaos. Big win there. We're going to see a 3-1 win there. Leeds beating Burnley, from Burnley to the Wolves, as United draw with Liverpool. Newcastle beating Brighton, and then Wolves beating Sunderland. 3 games to go. We'll calculate it again. City's at the top of the table. Arsenal just 3 points behind. Liverpool have got a few more losses on the board now. United seems to have scored that 4th place spot. Sunderland still in the relegation zone. Not going to catch Brentford, I don't think, or Forest. Forest down real low, aren't they? Wow. But we'll wait and see if they can get any results out of these final few games. Brighton beating Wolves. Crystal Palace beating Everton. Burnley getting beat. Fulham beating Bournemouth. We're going to see. Where are Fulham? Fulham are pretty high up, yeah. Liverpool beating Chelsea as they're trying to ward off their results. Brentford losing that game. We're going to see Forest beat Newcastle towards the end of the season, which could be huge. Spurs beating Leeds, could be bad for Leeds, and then West Ham getting mucking around again. Bournemouth, beating Villa, beating Liverpool towards the end of the season there. Arsenal beating Burnley. Brentford beating Crystal Palace. We're going to see Chelsea and Spurs draw. Everton beating Sunderland. Brighton getting beat by Leeds. United beating Forest. We're going to see Newcastle demolish West Ham. And a nice win there for Wolves, pushing them further at the table. West Ham back in the relegation zone now, but on final day it could still be survival. Down 2. Leeds, West Ham or Sunderland could all still survive. Brentford have got survival. Nottingham Forest got survival. Everton definitely got survival. Brighton, things could still change. They're up and around. We'll wait and see what happens on the last day. We're doing plenty of goals in this. United have secured their place in Champions League football. 16 points off the top. Last day. It does come to it, last day City do need to win in the last day. Against Villa. Sunderland beating Chelsea on the last day there. Doing what they can do to try and get that survival. Brighton beating United. Crystal Palace and Arsenal. Arsenal beating Crystal Palace, but only just. As Burnley do beat Wolves on the last day there. Fulham beat Newcastle. Liverpool beating Brentford, doing what they can do, but it's not going to be doing much. City and Villa drawing 1-1. That's all they need to do. Forest winning their game against Bournemouth. Spurs winning their game against Everton. And West Ham Leeds on the last day. 2-2 calculate. Who does that mean survives? Leeds survive. Oh my god, Leeds, Sunderland and Burnley all on the same points, all on 29 points. Oh, West Ham, sorry, Leeds, Sunderland and West Ham. Minus one, literally one goal difference. One goal difference separates West Ham and Leeds. That is insane. Sunderland did what they needed to do, but not enough. Leeds survive. Brentford survive. Champions League football, United, some might say bias, as I said. Aston Villa winning their game. Getting in Champions League football as well, I assume. Newcastle getting Europa League, same as Chelsea, and Spurs getting in the Conference League. Fulham obviously just missing out. Crystal Palace finishing where Crystal Palace usually finish around. Bournemouth doing well considering the players that are going to be losing this summer. Brighton doing what you'd expect Brighton to do. Wolves, I think you can't argue it too much. I think people will argue with United and probably like put United here, but that's about it. Probably move that up a little bit, and that's it. I think you can argue with that too much. And wait and see what the comments say. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments, guys, and how much you hate on mine. But thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please leave a like and see more. Subscribe, because I try and get videos out as much as I can. I used to say every day, but not every day anymore.